Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique, and today I'm talking about if you should count your vegetables.
My name is Steven, and this is our video about health and fitness things. And I work for Pro Physique, and I am just a guy with a fitness thing for you.
Alright everybody, I hope you're all having a great day as always. Ooh, what a big question. And this question really is sparked because I coach a lot of people overseas, not in the United States. And oftentimes what we will see with a lot of nutritional information is that we are not counting fiber as carbohydrate sources. Now, this can also be one of those things where we don't necessarily like to count fiber as our carbohydrate sources here in America. And you know what? It helps a lot with marketing as well. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my opinion on whether or not we should be counting fiber as carbohydrates, maybe some of the things we didn't recognize, maybe some differences between soluble and insoluble fiber, and I think considerations for those of us particularly that are trying to diet down, be accountable with our calorie intake, and lose as much body fat as possible. So this is going to really pertain to anybody that is trying to get as lean as they can, all of my physique competitors, and just anybody who wants to be a little bit more direct and accountable for what calories they are bringing in. And the reason I say this is because there are definitely some considerations. And so first and foremost, let's talk about calories. All of our vegetables do have calories. And so we want to be tracking and accountable to our calorie intake, to our macronutrient intake. And so if we are foregoing counting things like leafy green vegetables, broccoli, spinach, those kind of things, green beans, whatever it might be, there are definitely calories coming from those food sources. So that in and of itself can create an inaccuracy. Now, depending how big and or small that inaccuracy may be, it may make a bigger or smaller impact on our dieting phase and our progress. I know that I myself have definitely been able to vastly overeat on something like broccoli. And again, that can create a calorie surplus and increased calorie intake over what we think I may be getting if I'm not tracking that. So it is important to understand that there are calories associated with those leafy green vegetables. Do we want them as part of our diet? Of course. Do we want vegetables? Yes, absolutely. They're good. Those micronutrients are good. Insoluble fiber and the fiber stuff is good for a slew of reasons. We'll talk about some of that in a little bit here. We want to have those all the time, right? Whether we're in a dieting phase, whether we're outside of a dieting phase, they're just good for us. Those are general health things. But we do also want to be accountable to them. Because remember, when we're talking about body composition, it's calories in, calories out. How is our body responding to creating a deficit or a surplus or maintenance? Yes, there are other things that influence that, and yes, it can get complex. However, let's keep it simple for now, okay? So understanding that there are calories associated with that. Now we talk about, well, Stephen, does fiber actually have calories? And they're not the same, and it's a little bit different. And what about soluble fiber versus insoluble fiber? Yes, so let's talk about the easy one first, which is insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber essentially is stuff that we don't digest, and it goes through, it creates roughage, and it gives us, you know, more poop to poop. Shoop to poop, whoop to whoop. So it's helping our digestive tract by getting things through and out. Insoluble fiber is a good thing. And as far as we know right now from what I've seen, we're not seeing that there's any calorie value from that. So when we talk about calories, well, maybe that insoluble fiber doesn't have them. However, when we talk about soluble fiber absolutely does give us calories. And so whether that means that we are able to pull out those calories in the digestive tract, or whether that means that the bacteria in our digestive tract and our intestine is changing those into short-chain fatty acids, and we're getting those calories there, we are still getting calories from that soluble fiber. Now, I think we all agree in the scientific community that it's not the same as, maybe a regular starch or carbohydrate. However, there is calorie value there. Now, whether that's 2 calories per gram, 3 calories per gram, there is some room for interpretation there, but nonetheless, calories. We also have to understand that things like broccoli, things like spinach, that's not all fiber. There are still starches there, right? So there are still your typical traditional carbohydrate calories there that we're going to be able to digest and utilize and use from that. So again, if we're eating a significant amount more on things like vegetables that we're not counting because we've been told we don't have to, that can make a vast impact on what our actual calorie intake is. So for me, I'm always a proponent of, hey, we just want to be aware. We want to say, this is going to be something that we're going to hold accountable to, and we're going to have that data over time. Especially because if you're like me, as calories get lower, those fibrous food options actually get higher. I start utilizing more of them. So if I'm not counting things like broccoli and my other vegetables, my other green leafies, well, that could actually make a very big impact in terms of whether or not I'm seeing the scale move as we move calories and macronutrients down to facilitate that deficit. Because I may be undoing that deficit by eating or overeating those without accountability. Now, there are definitely some other things that we want to be aware of when we talk about greens and fibers, and that's digestion as well, okay? So the amount that we get out of this is the same as any other food sources that we may utilize. When we don't digest something as well, if it goes through our digestive tract more quickly, we will get less calorie value out of that. We won't break it down as much. That's why when we reduce calories, when we increase cardio, when we're pushing that deficit, it is very easy, and it's what the body does. It slows down digestion. Peristalsis, the way that it moves food through the digestive tract, slows. And that is intentional because our digestive tract wants more time to pull nutrients out and to get as many calories as possible from the food that we are ingesting. That can be another consideration, but those fibers, those green leafies, can also create digestive issues if we have so much fiber to where we consistently are bloated, gas, maybe we're not digesting things well anymore. Maybe things aren't moving at all. We all kind of have a sweet spot, and it's a little bit different for everyone. For me, I've had days where I've gotten 70 to 80 grams of fiber during the end of a prep, and my digestion was fine. Oh, I was definitely a stinky boy, but digestion moved and everything was fine. There are other people that if you give them too much fiber, nothing is fine and nothing is good. So that is just another reason why it makes sense to count those, because now we can look. We have more data. We can see, okay, well, what is my fiber range that I digest well? What is the range to where my digestion maybe starts getting off? And what is the range to where if it's too low, maybe digestion isn't moving around or I'm not seeing things move the way I want them to. So for me, it's very, very important that I think we don't do net carbs. Yes, it's a marketing ploy to a degree. Check it out. You're getting more food and you have net carbs because those carbs don't count. Well, do they really not count? And that is something that we want to know. We want to just be informed about. Because yes, those carbs still count. Yes, they still have an impact on the body. Depending what type of fibrous carb it is, will depend what kind of effect that has. But it's still good and important data for us to utilize. So for me, I am not a believer in net carbs. I think total carbs is the way to go. That is how I always expect all of my clients to track because it keeps us accountable and it gets us making better progress. We know we're not getting a lot of extra calories from other things. We're paying attention to our digestion. We know things that we do and don't digest well, and we can help to manage those to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for as much success and comfort as possible. So I hope this helps. For all of you that have been wondering, net carbs, what? But I'll leave it there. Y'all have a wonderful day.